Hey everyone, Spencer here, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Niche Pursuits News. And I've got my co-host here with me, Jared. How you doing?
Good to be here. Another exciting week. We get to talk about the news and continue our deep dive in all things AI, Google, search for. I mean, man, it
Yep,
expands every week.
it does. There's still lots to cover. There's ongoing tweaks with Google and their AI search experience, and we're going to dive into that quite a bit in terms of news because I know that's on the top of my mind. I want to know, how is the search experience going to work? How is it going to impact my sites? What does it look like? Am I still going to be getting traffic? So we're going to dive into that and chat about what other people are sharing and what we think as it relates to that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about our shiny object shenanigans, a couple of the side projects that we have going on that we'll jump into. It's going to be fun. You've got kind of I'll call a bigger update that I'm curious about, just because you've done a lot of work on one particular new area that you shared last week. So I want to hear more about that. And then finally, each of us do have one weird niche site that we're going to share, and you've got a doozy. It is odd. I will say that mine is not quite as weird, but it's a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit different, but maybe not in the humorous vein, right? It's a little different, and so
They
we'll
say
get into that here.
they say pressure makes diamonds, right? For this one, I really snuck in the 11th hour. I could not really find a good one. This one kind of I barely got this one in before we started recording here.
Well, we'll let people say whether it was a good one or not. I think it's interesting. We'll hear what you say about it because you've looked at it, and so we've got that for you. So listeners, stick around for that. But first, let's jump into this week in Niche Pursuits news.
Before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This is how we landed massive links for our client in The Sun, a DR90 website, and many other UK news websites. We have used freely available data from YouGov to simply find out what the nation's favorite car brand is and which brands people love the most. Of course, Rolls-Royce came out on top, Aston Martin second, and Jaguar third. We put these insights in a short email and sent it to journalists that write about cars and to national news desks on behalf of our client. Within a few days, our client got featured in all the Suns, as well as many regional newspaper sites in the UK, gaining DR90 links to their leasing comparison website. YouGov website is full of unlimited PR stories with data already available for free. All you have to do is to start researching their data and start asking the data questions. You will be surprised of the unlimited PR campaigns that you will find there that can help you build massive exposure and links to your or your clients' websites. I hope this video is helpful and inspirational.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.
So as mentioned, we are going to cover mostly the Google Search Generative Experience. And so, Jared, I know that you found an article here recently on Search Engine Land that kind of went over a lot of results. They did a lot of queries and they shared a lot of results, what it looks like in the new AI Google experience. And so I thought I'd kind of turn that over to you and let you kind of talk through some of these. I'm going to share my screen so we can see that article. And then maybe I'll let you jump into kind of what you're seeing there.
So it was probably 3 weeks ago now, I think, roughly 3 weeks ago, or certainly at the beginning part of May, that we got to all tune in and watch Google as they announced this new Search Generative Experience. And we got to look at, I think just 3 or 4 examples that they showed us. We looked at one about Bryce Canyon. We looked at one about Bluetooth speakers, right? And then we were all stuck kind of deducing what this experience was going to be like. As a result of these couple queries, we had Jeff Coyle on from Market Muse in our weekly news session, and we all theorized and spitballed and whatnot about what that experience was like. Well, this week, they opened it up for people to go and play around with. It might have actually been at the very end of last week. I can't really remember. It was either the end of last week or early this week. Right. And so, for those of you who did get in there and got started and played around with it, obviously we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But this search engine land went through a bunch of different queries. And I think at this point, this is the news of the week, and certainly what I would like to talk through. I did play around with it a little bit, not as extensively as a lot of other people did online. I know a lot of people were frantically running their keywords through it to see, maybe their top ranking keywords to see what it was doing. But I think at the outset, I will say this, it definitely seemed, we theorized a lot that it might not make an impact on a lot of queries. It didn't seem necessarily to be the right user experience for a lot of the queries. I will say from the outset, it certainly was in a vast majority of the queries I ran.
Right. And I agree. And so they went through, quite a few of these, right? Like, here's one. Where can I learn about SEO? And here's what you get from Google, right? Is here in this screenshot. So it's got quite a bit. Here's places that you can learn about SEO. You can also check about, it's got bullet points, other places that you can check about it. And, it still does have these links, right? It's got, if I'm counting right, it's got the 3 links up here up top, which you can scroll through and get more. It's got maps. It's got these other, so at least 6 links right here that you can click on results. So that's a good sign. I'm always looking for, is Google actually providing a way for people to click through to my website or to our websites, right?
If you go back up a little bit too, there's a good one to look at in terms of local SEO, right up there. But
the pizza or
the pizza one works.
Yeah.
There's also one above it too for haircuts.
Yes.
That he was showing, that haircut one. So I thought that, to bring in the other side of things, and we'll probably talk about this too, Spencer, I'll tease it, but I would love to get your opinion on it. Like, the local results look probably more close to what Google is looking like right now. I thought it was very, a lot more similar to like a classic kind of map pack sort of look. That didn't deviate as much from a classic search experience as some of the other queries, like more informational queries. But I guess I also want to tease it here, and when you want to share your thoughts, we can talk about it. But a lot of this starts to feel like just a very expanded, colorful featured snippet box in many ways, and how they're going to navigate ads in that, and how they're going to navigate links in that and all. But part of me kind of kept feeling like, okay, how is this? I know how it is. It's AI. It's not a featured snippet, but it does have a sense in many of these queries you're looking at on screen of just an expanded, oversized, colorful, pretty featured snippet box too.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Certainly for the local search results, that's, it feels like very familiar. And then I do tend to agree that I think a lot of these queries, it's just a very large featured snippet is what I'm seeing. And is that good or bad? And I do have to wonder, is Google really going to roll this out for all queries? Are they going to just say, okay, this is the way that we do things? Because it does feel like it's featured snippets on steroids in a way. It's kind of like, hey, we just decided to throw up a few featured snippets, right? You get, a 3-pack that you can click on instead of just one. And so I think that's a little bit of a theme that at least I feel like is how much of a difference is there between Google search and their AI experience?
Yeah.
And especially as we start to look at Bard, and maybe we'll just jump into that if that's okay, because Lily Ray, and I'm going to share a tweet here that she had. She basically says, for those that you've been playing around with the SGE, Search Generative Experience, for a little bit, how much of an improvement or not do you think it is over just Google search? And so that's the big question that Google has to ask, and that we all have to ask is this really much of a change or better? Only 6.4% of people said it's a significant improvement. 30% said it's meh, and 22% said it's not an improvement, and then 41% people just wanted to see the answer. But, I kind of put the meh Like it's,
That was my answer too.
I'm not seeing that its results are better. And from things that I'm actually seeing, it's still quoting websites at length, right? When they pull up this search generative experience, it's still just quoting the answer directly from other blogs and from other websites. And that's been a little bit of a sticking point, is that people are requesting Google, hey, if you're going to quote the website, please just make it a link. Have a link in the result. And so is it truly AI generated here, or are they just quoting websites a lot of the time? And that's part of the reason why I feel like, is this really that much better? So we'll see where Google goes with all of this.
It's it's very reminiscent in a much larger scale when featured snippets first got rolled out. And there was a lot of frustration over how and why are they putting my text from my website on a Google results page. And yeah, there's a link down there, but a lot of people, and you'll still find people, and not saying it's wrong, by the way, but you still find a lot of people, certainly at first, but even now, who won't optimize for the snippet because they feel like they are doing their website and their traffic a disservice by optimizing for the snippet. Now, I've found, and I know a lot of people have found that, hey, when I get the featured snippet, my traffic increases, right? And so it's interesting. If we could just park there for a second, Google's moving some of my content onto their results page. Kind of unfair, but if we leave that aside for a bit, typically when they move some of my content but give me premier position with that link, I get more traffic. And so if we look at the search generative experience in that light, do we, with links and with proper attribution, and if they go that route, do we actually see an increase in traffic if they actually give maybe 3 links now? I'm exploring here, but there has been so much doomsday. Maybe there is a silver lining here. I don't know, by the way. I certainly don't know. I don't overall love a lot of the things that are happening, but it did cross my mind, right?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that would make logical sense, right? Is maybe there's 3 links there instead of 1, and maybe those get more clicks than we think. So it's a guessing game, but it's very possible that for certain queries, this may result in an increase in traffic. And we know that not all search queries, of course, are going to pull up this generative experience. It's still going to just be this same old Google is going to give you what we're used to for, I don't know what % of queries. I really don't know. But Glenn Gabe dove into this a little bit in terms of the YMYL, your money, your life, because previously, and in fact, we had said this on the show initially, that it didn't look like Google was going to tap into that, or that the AI was going to dive into that very much. They're going to be a little bit safer about generating results that are related to YM and YL. And so let me share Glenn Gabe's tweet here.
And I was going to ask you about that too. I'm glad you brought it up because you already touched on it. So Glenn Gabe pointed out, hey, there's so much more YMYL than we expected in the search generative experience. So my question, and I didn't deep dive it, I don't know if you did, but is it AI that they're surfacing, or are they just surfacing their results now from content that's on the web in their new environment? Because that's not necessarily AI. They could take their current SERP results and kind of reform factor it into this layout, right? And then it wouldn't actually be running YMYL content through the AI. But anyways, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are making sense, and that is kind of the sticking point that I alluded to, that a lot of people are kind of up in arms about, in terms of, is this really an AI generated answer, or is this just quoting word for word websites that already exist, right? And if it's just quoting these websites, shouldn't it be making a more obvious way to get to that website, an actual anchor text in the phrases that are copied word for word? So that's maybe what Google is doing, is, none of this was AI generated. Maybe it's really just large chunks of text, like a featured snippet that is directly from somebody else's website. So I don't know, but here's, symptoms of a strep throat is what we're showing, that Google is using generative AI for that type of query. Before, we didn't necessarily think that would be the case. And I clicked on another image. let's see, also ran some searches that lead to his site. So he's looking at some other things there as well. But so interesting that maybe it is showing up for more your money, your life type content. Again, this is all conjecture. We don't know exactly what is going to happen. But these are, some of the things that we're seeing right now.
I like, in a weird way, again, alternate perspective. It's nice from one side of things to see that even just weeks ago we thought one thing wasn't going to happen or was going to happen, and then it's changed. It for me, I'm like, okay, this is an iterative process. Hopefully this will continue to evolve to a place where Google's experience increases, which is really what they're trying to do. And we as publishers aren't punished, maybe get rewarded in that process. And hopefully the iterations are necessary to get there rather than it just being a static process out of the gate.
Right. And so right in line with that is this other news article that just came out 2 days ago that Bing Chat adds anchor text hyperlinks within answers. And so this is something that people are pushing Google to do. And so in a way, it's nice to see that Bing has added hyperlinks within the chat. And so I'm sharing on my screen here now, when people search for best pizza store reviews, they get this, and they actually add a hyperlink to the Taste of Home article or, this other link that I'd have to click on to see exactly where that goes. But there's a couple of hyperlinks in the Bing chat, which is, of course, an AI chat. And so that's nice to see that Bing is adding that, that way to get to our blogs, to get to our websites.
I think this is huge. I mean, I think it might be getting a bit swept under the rug. Like, we know Google had to completely change their plans and move mountains to push up schedules for the generative content based on how GPT, OpenAI, and Microsoft Bing were kind of performing and putting pressure on them. I hope we see the same with this. I hope this creates an added pressure on Google to do things like this. This is great. You're going to pull content from publishers' websites. Let's cite that. Like, we learned that in third grade bibliographies, this is kind of how the world works. Like, this is good. Thank you, Bing. Good job, OpenAI. And let's hope this puts more pressure on Google to do the same.
Exactly. And, we never know how far up the chain it goes, but I have seen that on Twitter, Google, search liaison Twitter handle is responding to some of these suggestions that, hey, add hyperlinks. You're quoting the website. Please just add a hyperlink. So they are at least aware of the complaints. And I think even more so now that they see that Bing is doing this with their AI chat, that then maybe they'll go that route. And that could really lessen the blow, if you will, if there was to be a big blow to traffic. Anytime there's more links, more clicks coming to our website, that's good news. That's what we want to see. So fingers crossed this is what Google would implement something similar in their Search Generative Experience. And for the final news article, I think, that we wanted to share today is something a little bit unrelated, but it is very timely. And Jared, I think you saw quite a bit of chatter about this one. I've just shared it on my screen, that Google Search Console performance report was delayed, but Google will fix the issue. So what was going on here?
So there's a, under the radar kind of back of the napkin math that says that oftentimes when GSC is delayed in their reporting, and their reporting is normally 4 to 8 hours, and it'll show you when you go into your GSC, it says last updated under your performance tab, and it's usually like 4 or 8 hours, something like that. But when it hits the 30s or the 40s, oftentimes that's indicative of Google preparing to launch an update. And we've seen that connected. I actually noticed this and tweeted about it, I believe in the March update, where I was noticing that they were hitting the 30s and 40s, and I was waiting for a refresh I needed for a client report. I'm like, come on, Google, let's go. Something's cooking here. And then we got an update. So there's kind of just, there's certainly no like causal relationship here, but there have been connections to this. So a lot of theories that an update was happening. Google came out and said, nope, it was a bug. whether it really was or not, because I don't know, today's been pretty tumultuous in the SERPs for a lot of reports, but that's just, kind of every day of the week these days. Some weeks,
Right.
though, who knows? But there was a lot of chatter about, are we leading into a May, June update? And again, Google's come out and talked a lot about stuff recently. We talked last week on the podcast about how they announced hey, topical authority is a thing. We've been doing it for a while. We just thought we'd tell you. It's excuse me, you're telling us stuff? Wow. So, kind of following that vein, they're just telling us no, it's actually a bug that's kind of rare for them or not normal, but apparently it's a bug. Apparently it's not indicative of an update, although, you could argue other way.
Right. And there's so many different departments within Google, that who knows exactly what's going on. But we've got, had a bug, a delay of 65 hours, which is a long time for the data to come in. So a lot of people notice that. So I thought we'd share that and, just be on the lookout. If there is some sort of fluctuation in the SERPs, is there an update coming down the road? We haven't seen it definitively or nothing has been announced, but we'll see. I mean, it almost feels like, I hate to say it, but it almost feels like Google is due for another update.
It's been at least a month.
It's been a month, right? It's about that time.
Yeah, and they've released a lot of May updates over the years. We've, a couple weeks ago, you shared that beautiful, was it SEMrush report, I think, and the big ones were in May. So, I guess we're out of May now. It's June 2nd at time of release here, Friday, June 2nd. So,
right.
We escaped May without a major update, it looks like, but maybe June has one on the horizon here.
Could be shortly to follow. So there you go. That is the news this week that we wanted to cover in digital marketing. Mostly the SERPs, the Search Generative Experience. There's all kinds of AI news, lots of things happening all the time, but that's a nice snippet of some of the high-level things that are going on.
I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
In this video, I will show you how we landed a placement on BBC and dozens of links in massive regional online publications such as Wales Online, Daily Post, and many more. This PR campaign was about the easiest place to pass your driving test for the first time in the UK. This is how we've done it. We simply went to DVLA website, found the latest car driving test data by test center, and downloaded the data in a CSV format. Once we had the data, all we had to do is to look at the number of total tests per test center, then look at the number of first time passes to calculate the percentage of people who passed their test for the first time. Once we had the percentage numbers, we created a press release with our findings. Then we went to Roxhill and found journalists who talk about driving tests and also looked for journalists who write in regional publications in the UK. In total, we have found about 1,800 journalists and sent them our press release by email. Within less than a day, our story got picked up by BBC, Cornwall Live, Wales Online, and dozens of other publications in the UK, providing our client a tsunami of backlinks perfectly relevant to the audience of the client, who is a specialist in learner driver car insurance. I hope this video is helpful and it shows you how you can also build links with freely available data from official sources.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.
Now we wanted to jump into our shiny object shenanigans. These are side projects, of course, that we are working on, things that aren't our main focus, but that we are spending time on and that we're excited about. I have a tendency to follow some shiny objects, and those shiny objects have turned into, over the years, some great businesses. So I enjoy doing it. I've got a couple of things that I wanted to give an update on. One is I wanted to give an update on my faceless YouTube channel. I've shared that a number of times here on the podcast. And generally, my previous weeks, things have been going well. And if I were to share just the earnings, I could say they were going well. So I'll share my screen here. I tweeted this out, but basically it's a screenshot here showing that in the last 28 days, I have earned $1,832, which is amazing, which is way beyond what we expected for this month. I don't even think we expected to earn $100 this month. So it's great. We're way beyond our projections. However, if you do see this image, you can see that the last few days, the earnings look like it's basically zero, but it's like $1.50, $2 a day instead of the $70 or $80 a day that we had been getting previously. The reason for that is because we did get a copyright claim on one of our videos. And it just so happens that that video accounts for like 98% of all the views and all the earnings. We've essentially had one video that has gone viral or semi-viral, right? Getting all the views, and of course that's all the earnings, and we got a copyright claim. And so they immediately will demonetize that video until you submit a claim on that, or submit a what's the word I'm looking for here? To dispute the claim.
Yeah, dispute. Yeah. You gotta kind of prove that you're either not in the wrong or give them evidence or something like that, right?
Exactly. And so I have a partner on this particular YouTube channel, and he has already submitted the dispute to the claim. And so the silver lining here is that we actually have gotten copyright claims on other videos.
Right, I remember
that we were able to get reversed. And so the hope is that it'll just be the same thing here, is that we've submitted our claim. It can take a week. It can take a couple of weeks.
That's what I was going to ask. How long did the last ones take?
Yeah, they varied,
Yeah.
and actually I don't know on some of them. I think it's generally been a few days, but some of them I don't know because my partner's been submitting them, and he typically doesn't mention it to me. It's like it was a video that was earning like 10 cents a day, right? But this one matters, and so this one is the one that was earning all the money, and so we've submitted our our dispute of the claim, and so we're waiting to hear. So hopefully it's good news, but I just wanted to share that, not all side projects go well. There's bumps along the way. It's not always a straight line, up and to the left with the graph and the earnings. But that's what's going on with the Faceless YouTube channel right now. So hopefully we get things reversed, rolling, monetized, and we'll just keep growing from there.
So copyright problem aside, I mean, if you hadn't had those 4 or 5 days off, I mean, you'd be approaching upwards of 1 million views in the last 28 days. And if we look at more like, I'm just kind of fudging a bit here to get you to it, but if we look at more of like a 30-day window, which is what a lot of people kind of look at, 30-day windows, like I mean, this is amazing. You're almost at 1 million views on this Faceless YouTube channel that's not more than 3, 4, 5 months old. It's phenomenal.
Right. It is. It is phenomenal. I will say that most of it is from that one video, so let's not get too, excited in terms of like, we haven't replicated the video that's had all this success. We haven't been able to replicate it. The other videos are still, many of them are getting, thousands of views, within the first 30 days. But that, that only earns $1.50, $2 a day, right? It'd be nice if we had a few more hit that were bigger. But generally, like, it is awesome that, almost $2,000 in 30 days, which is great for how old this channel is. So I do have one other shiny object that I wanted to share that I've been working on for a long time that I know I mentioned briefly, but I will share again that I have gotten lots of beta testers for RankLogic. So I'm sharing on my screen. RankLogic.com is my new WordPress plugin. So it is a plugin that will allow you to track your keyword rankings. It can allow you to group content together to track author performance, or just content in general based on date or type of content. However you want to customize and group content, you can see how that basket of content is performing. And then also you can see when you make changes to that content, if you do a content update, the plugin will kind of track that for you automatically, and it'll designate, hey, there was an event on this day, you updated your content, and here you can see afterwards your rankings went up or went down, and you can look at that event to say, oh, adding content or changing the title or adding internal links, that helps or that doesn't help, right? So it's almost like an internal A/B tester in a way that just tracks all those changes for you. So what's cool is that I got like 40 beta testers for this. They've been testing it out now for almost 2 weeks. We've had a lot of feedback, a lot of updates that we've come out with just to beta testers. And so I'm getting closer to actually launching this to the public, and I need to develop the actual sales page here, but I'll make this available for people that they can go and check out. But this is something that I've been working on for a long time, over a year. It's nice to see beta testers come in, get the feedback, most of it positive, but they found some bugs and some things that we can update, and a couple little feature requests that we're going to add as well.
I love it. I have to say that I apologize. I haven't dug in to test it yet, but it's on my short list. But it's so exciting. I mean, I can't wait for this thing to come out.
Yeah, thank you. It is exciting. I mean, it's a lot of work to develop software and to get it out the door, especially when, you're going to be charging people for it. It's not something, It's not like just a website with ads on it that, hey, if there's mistakes or problems, not a big deal, right? But you really want to make this great for everybody. So, that's where I'm at. We're getting closer, but right now it's a side project, but hopefully it grows into something that's a little more significant once it's actually launched.
I'm particularly interested in using it to kind of track writers. Like I talked about on our interview a couple weeks ago about that website that we bought, and how, basically we use our agency to kind of, when writers are slower, we'll ramp up content on our own websites. But, it does mean that, call it a drawback, call it whatever you want, we have good SOPs, but we do usually end up with a number of different writers on one account. And I don't really ever track how individual writers perform over the course of a website, and I should. So I'm really kind of excited about that singular feature at the very least.
Yeah. Yep. And that's as easy as really checking a box. Because it's in WordPress and lives in WordPress, it already knows who your authors are. And so there's a drop-down menu. You click Jared or whoever, the author is, and boom, that's it. Simple as that. So,
all right, I'll get in there. I promise.
That's right. Now you've been busy. You've done lots of good interviews with guests and a lot of other things going on. So that is just fine. But I do want to hear about your side project, because you made quite a bit of progress. So why don't you tell us what's going on?
So last week I kind of said that we're going to kind of sunset talking week on, week out, week in, week out about the Weekend Growth email newsletter. Still going well. I did sit down with my cup of coffee, like I said, so I have plans for the future for that. It'll stay around at least for the summer. I don't have any plans on sunsetting. I've actually already mapped out the content for June and for July. Already produced some of it. So good news. Actually, right before I got in the interview, we secured our first sponsor for the newsletter.
Congrats.
And thank you. Yeah, I think they secured four slots, not just one. So, hey, if you're going to start with a bang. But so that's exciting news, but that'll continue to go on. I'll just give periodic updates from here on out when something maybe major happens or something. But Spencer, you are an inspirational figure, and I couldn't stop myself. So I dove into Amazon Influencer, and I'll admit mostly at the back of talking to you about it week in, week out here. For me, and I'll just explain 30 seconds on it. I really thought it was something unique that I wanted to try, just because myself and my business partner, Caitlin, we have a background in media. And so we have this kind of, I don't want to say competitive advantage, but I have a background in photo, video, audio, these sorts of things. And it looked like a good medium where you're producing videos to potentially put that to work. So it has been now 7 days since we got we got approved for the influencer program on a Friday 2 weeks ago. Got our first 3 videos in on Monday, 4 days later. Got approved for those videos on Thursday, so 8 days ago from the day this podcast releases. And then we cranked out 100 videos, all accepted and approved and live as of yesterday, day 7.
That's insane. How did you manage to do 100 videos?
Well, I do. I'm sharing about it on Twitter, and so if you're not following along, you want to follow along and kind of hear all the updates on it. Feel free to. That's kind of where I'm sharing all the little things. The first 3 videos took me over 4 hours. It was just mistakes and framing and all this. And you want to make the first 3 good because they're manually reviewed. But after that, I mean, these videos are 1, 2, 3 minutes long, and I feel comfortable on camera. That probably helps. I'm doing this with people all, certainly every week. And so I just, I knuckled down. I made a list of everything in the house that I knew we bought on Amazon, and I just started rifling through it, following an exact process with every single one. So I will say I did about 50, and then Caitlin, my business partner, she did about 50. So we decided to joint tackle the first 100, and that was our goal. And so, in the end, I mean, I was doing them in the last batch was taking well under 10 minutes each.
Wow, that's impressive. And 10 minutes is sort of all in.
Yeah.
Because it takes you, like you said, I mean, once you pick up the product and hit record, it's maybe 2 minutes to actually record it, right? Do it all in one take, I assume.
Yep.
And then is there any editing, or is it just basically you upload it and that's it?
There was a small batch of them that did require some editing. We added in what you would call B-roll. So it was like, I'd be holding the product and talking about it, and then we'd add in some B-roll towards the end or the beginning of kind of more the product in use, that sort of thing. About, I don't know how many. A small percentage of them had that, and so that required me to go over to iMovie or whatever your editing software choice. It didn't take long, but you still have to import, set it up, it takes a minute or two, and then export. The rest of them, in phone. I just, you can use the Amazon app and you upload right from your phone.
Did it right there.
Yeah, you can tag the product. I was sharing on Twitter what I found myself doing is I'd upload it and then it just sit there as a draft, and I just keep uploading them as I would shoot them, and then I'd go back to my desktop when I had like 20 of them, and I'd pound through tagging them and titling them all in one go. It'd be done in 3 or 4 minutes and hit publish or whatever the button is.
So how long would you say, if you were to guess, how many hours did you spend making about the 50 videos?
Oh, hold on. I got that for you if you want.
You've got that number?
Yeah, I have that number. I kept track of my time. I need to know if my shiny objects stuff here is killing my efficiency.
Yeah. By the end, your videos were taking about 10 minutes. Of course, the beginning, they were longer, like you said. But now that you've got a process.
Now I got a process.
You're cranking it out.
First 3 videos took me 4 hours and 19 minutes. Remaining 46 videos took me a total of 784 minutes. That's 17 minutes each. The last 13 videos that I did yesterday took a total, including naming, uploading, everything, of 58 minutes, which is an average of 4 minutes and 28 seconds.
Wow.
That's flying, I have to say.
That is flying. So, are you about to run out of products, or you got a bunch more to do?
I'm about halfway through what I know of in my house.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can review stuff that you didn't buy on Amazon just so long as it's actually sold on Amazon. I haven't dove into that.
Right.
I just kind of went down, I opened up, I think we buy everything on my wife's account. So I just opened my wife's account and I'm just like, okay, we'll just start at the top, roll on down. And I did run into a couple of snafus. Initially, I did a video and then tried to upload it, and the video or it was no longer available. The product was no longer available. So, oops, that was dumb. So check to make sure before you hit record that the product was still available. That's a good thing I learned. But so the next step would be finishing all the stuff we already own, and then from there, kind of maybe looking into some of the things you're doing or other strategies. I know my parents live nearby. My dad's retired. He loves to buy stuff on Amazon. He's got so many hobbies, so maybe heading over there for an afternoon or something. But yeah, a couple ideas for the future.
That's good. And I know, of course, earnings, they've only been up there, right? And so it takes 2 or 3 days at least, maybe longer, right? Actually, that I've found it can take a couple of weeks before they really kind of get up to their position on Amazon. But you'd earn like $9 last I saw you posted on Twitter. But I don't know if you earned any more yesterday or today. But
let's see, what did I say? It's basically, I mean, been monetized. Like, it's gotten clicks in the reporting dashboard and earnings in the reporting dashboard for 3 days. So $9.06. Unfortunately, like, a lot of the stuff that's getting clicks is lower priced stuff. I haven't dove into the world of competition and all that as it relates to this. I'm sure you could really, we could get out our SEO hats and really deep dive into which products have lower competition and higher price and all these nuances. I haven't done that yet, but I'm sure that if you sell some higher price things, you'll earn a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're going to see your earnings climb quite a bit. So it'll be exciting to hear how it's going in a month or two. You're going to pass me up.
Have I caught you yet? Yeah, how many are you at? You were at 30.
You have not cut. I have like 160 something.
Oh, I got some work to do then.
Yeah, but boy, at this rate, you are going to catch and pass me. So, nice job. Cool. What else you working on? I think you had some other things you wanted to chat about.
Just, I'll tease a little bit that it's cool because my wife has a project that she and I were talking about, and she's really fired up about it. It's a bit of a passion project, but as I was listening to her talk about it, I was like, man, this is a good YouTube play. Let me look into this a little more. So I dove into it a little bit, and it's a very good YouTube play in terms of potential. So I'm just going to tease that it looks like, that's going to be a summer project that we're both going to try to commit to. I'm going to help her out a little bit with the YouTube side of things, and, she'll kind of spend some time on that passion project, and hopefully we'll have that maybe fleshed out a little bit. It's a busy time right now as kids are getting ready to head into summer and stuff, but we'll carve out a few hours, and hopefully I'll be able to share some more updates about that. And maybe that'll be, along with the influencer program, some of the kind of upcoming couple months worth of shiny object shenanigans I share.
Yeah, no, that sounds like fun. So it sounds like she would be more the personality of the channel, and you would be helping her out. Of course, you can help her do the video and analyze everything, and maybe help her title and pick right topics and
thumbnails
things
and
like that, right?
Yeah,
Thumbnails,
let her stay in her sweet spot, and then get a leg up because we have some background in YouTube, and so I can help her with all those things you mentioned, and give it a shot.
Cool. Oh, that's fun. Well, I'll look forward to hearing more about that. I always love YouTube and everything that you can do there.
Yeah.
So much potential. So very good. So having said that, if I'm not mistaken, now it's time to move on to One Weird Niche, where we share one weird niche site. And so let's jump into a couple of weird niche sites that we have. I'm going to let you go first on this one. This one, maybe it was a last-minute find that you had here, but it's definitely weird.
So it's, for those of you listening, we'll pull it up on the screen for those of you watching, but for those of you listening, the URL is snakedreams.org. No, this isn't some URL or domain that's all about, snake lovers. It's not like a play on like, hey, let's come learn about owning a snake. No, not about pet snakes like you might think. It is about having bad dreams about snakes and what it means.
A whole website dedicated to snake dreams.
Snakes in dreams symbolize things. And this website, albeit not very well, or at least not very robustly, tackles this topic of snake dreams and what it means, and kind of helping you unravel the specifics behind snake dreams. Because, it wouldn't be just one snake dream, right? It actually talks about specific types of snake dreams. Some of the details, before we get into it, it is a DR9. Now, this site, back in its heyday in 2017, according to Ahrefs, was getting average monthly traffic of 56,000 organic page views.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's a penalty. I don't know if it's just not publishing content. That was obviously 6 years ago now. So now it's only averaging a paltry 1,200. Traffic is much below that. It's at 139, 150. But in terms of domains that could be resurrected, this is one that at one point was getting 56,000, and we know it's probably higher than that. It might be in the 100,000 mark. In terms of what they're covering, like, dreaming about snakes in the water. That's their most popular post. Getting chased by a snake, specifically a black snake, snakes under your bed. These are the topics that this site is covering. So I pulled up their most popular article, which is dreaming about snakes in water. And man, you can tell it was popular. 122 comments.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, man. So, there were people just talking a lot about at the bottom there.
I can just imagine, people are very concerned. They've just had this, scary, vivid dream about snakes and snakes in water in particular.
I mean,
and they want to go and discuss it.
They are discussing it too. They are, speaking of vivid, I mean, people are recounting their dream. I mean, I don't think I've ever been able to remember that much about a dream I've ever had, let alone one about a snake. So a couple things on the monetization side of things. They do have ads on the site. I didn't see who it was.
I can see the ads all over.
Yep. Ads are everywhere. Top, above the fold, sidebar, bottom. We got ads from the left and the right. They are an affiliate for mindvalley.com and classes on like mental, power and that sort of thing. So it's spiritual energy and manifesting and that sort of thing. And I don't know how that performs. Certainly back when they were getting 100,000 pages a month, they you could argue they probably did some decent affiliate plays here.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. And I was just clicking on their ads down here at the bottom. You can see that it is a free star. Is how they're monetized. So they're using when you click on the little symbol next to the ads, you can see that they're using the network Freestar. So
there you go. We haven't talked about Freestar in quite a while. I don't know if we ever have here. So
yeah, I don't know if we specifically have, but
anyways,
fast-growing ad network. So
I mean, it's just another example of taking some of the most bizarre topics that might seem too niche down, and at one point they were generating a significant amount of traffic.
Yeah, and it's hard to know exactly how much traffic they're still getting. Maybe it's not much organic traffic, but maybe they're still showing up other places, and he's still making a little bit of money probably.
That's a good point.
Yeah, just off the beaten path, man. I always just love like how much you can funnel down the niche idea, right? It's you can either start with snakes or you can start with dreams. I don't know which funnel you start with, but right, you start with dreams. Then I can see a huge website all about dreams and interpretation of dreams, but animals and dreams, no, we're gonna just snakes in dreams, and we're gonna have an entire website dedicated to it. So. Good find.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly like watching the way you walked through that can certainly help people think about how to maybe create a very focused niche if that's kind of what you want to go down, right? Like, like you got snakes, you got dreams, and yeah, why not? Let's talk about them.
Let's marry the two together.
Why not?
There's got to be a good origin story behind this website. I mean, it had to have started a very frightening dream with a snake.
I also love that it's a .org, as though it's some sort of organization or something.
The .com was taken.
Yeah.
So they got the .org. Very good. So, all right, I've got my weird niche site. I will say it's more professional.
Okay.
It's not quite as weird, but it's interesting. So this one is dimensions.com. And so dimensions.com it has, I don't know how many categories and different types of products. I mean, everything from gates to couches to mirrors to cricket balls to faucets to floor lamps to chairs to serving dishes to iMac screens, you name it, right? Everything that has a dimension, dimensions.com this image of that product and has drawn out the dimensions. How big is this driveway gate, Athena split, right? It shows how tall it is, how long it is in centimeters and in inches. So I guess that you can plan when you're going to add a gate or when you're going to buy a new sofa. Does this really fit? You can get the exact dimensions. And I looked at the About page because I was just curious about this website. And basically it says they're a comprehensive reference database that provides drawings and models, to standardize measurements. But it also says, let's see, where was that? Okay, Dimensions.com is an ongoing public research project founded by architect Brian Maddock and continues to be developed through the architecture practice. Fantastic offense. So it's more of a public project, almost like a nonprofit, although it doesn't say specifically, hey, this is a nonprofit, because it does go on to say that it does allow advertising. And if you noticed on the previous page, there was a display ad that did show up. So they do have it monetized a little bit, but it's more of almost like a Wikipedia, goodwill project that they are doing this for the better good of society, so that everyone everywhere can have the dimensions that you need. So now I'm seeing this pop culture tab. I didn't look at this before. Oh my goodness. So this is actually people.
People dimension.
Right? You got Charles, Prince of Wales. You can get his exact dimensions. He's 5'10", by the way, in case you're wondering. And we've got action heroes. Let's try one. No, let's try a CEO or an entrepreneur. Let's see who we find here. How do they have this categorized? Bill Simmons, Bill Gates. So let's look at Bob Iger. He's the CEO of Disney. He's 6'1". And they even have, these drawings of him. Does it have
birthday on the right there? They have some other stuff on the right there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, not much. Clearly feeling a programmatic play here.
Yes, absolutely. What does he do? I'm surprised it doesn't have waist measurements.
Right,
arm
more
length
dimensions.
measurements.
It's
What's
still
his
weird.
inseam?
Dimensions of a person.
So that's why I was curious what they have. But they basically got the height, but they've got some drawings and then some other biographical information. And then you can get Pro. Let's see what this is.
I was just going to ask about that. That's what I just pulled up on, was this Pro and the subscription. And I mean, what do you get with a subscription? I thought it was a free project.
Well, it's $16 a month or $90 a year. You get 2D downloads, 3D downloads, free, no advertisements, easy download access and support. There's got to be a lot of categories where this comes in really handy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like home furnishing, maybe construction companies, right, are really concerned about the layout of furniture or fixtures. So maybe there's some professional organizations or companies that this type of data becomes very important for. I think for individuals, at least I can't think of where this is super critical, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking like a furniture, a designer, for a room, and they're using the layout software, and maybe it does or it doesn't have dimensions, and you pull this data in, or you have it at your disposal as you're designing things. I mean, there's a lot of designers in the world. There's a lot of people who you're right, construction companies. So certainly there's a professional play there if that's kind of what it ends up being.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, we've only clicked on a couple of the categories. They have many categories, but we're looking at things like sliding doors, stair types, tiles and pavers, window latches, window handles, window curtains, and so they really provide a lot of data. So and here's just an example of a display ad. They do have some ads on some pages.
They're minimal. Yeah, they're pretty minimal.
Yeah, it's in good taste, right? Just some in the sidebar, some middle of the content. As you scroll down, you see a bit more. But I was actually impressed with how much traffic this site was getting. So I just pulled up Ahrefs, right? They're getting 306,000 organic searches a month, right? And so as we know, the total traffic is probably much more than that. And so I did go ahead and pull up total traffic. Maybe before I do, we can just look at Ahrefs to see what types of keywords they are ranking for, just to give us an idea of, where is this organic traffic coming from. So some of their top positions, Tyler 1 hat, height, badminton court, iPhone 13 screen size. So some iPhone, looks like a lot of their top 5 pages our iPhone dimensions. So that is interesting. But as you can imagine, it's blank, fill in the blank size or fill in the blank dimensions are the types of keywords that they're going to be ranking for. And then finally, I will share on similarweb.com. You can see that they're getting about 1 million visitors a month. And so, it shows for March and April. April, roughly 1 million visitors a month. And of course, it gives all kinds of breakdown here. I was going to see if it, okay, so organic search says it's about 66% of their traffic, 28% is direct, and then, other sources as well. So kind of a cool site, kind of a weird site, one that, I wouldn't have thought of building. But clearly with 1 million visitors a month, there's a need, a lot of people searching for this stuff, and they've built a huge resource that I'm sure is quite valuable to a lot of people.
That's wonderful. I mean, not a fancy layout, not going to win any design awards from a UI standpoint, but most of the ones we review on here don't. But man, talk about what looks to be a massive database of probably pretty helpful facts when you're in that specific position of needing that dimension for that exact product.
Right. And so, maybe there's a play here for listeners out there. Maybe you don't take all dimensions, but maybe there's a niche site, dimensions for XYZ, niche, right? Maybe there's enough people searching for, clearly iPhones or phones, maybe phone dimensions is its whole, if you really optimized for the phone category and market, because that actually does become pretty important when you're looking at phone cases, or does this really fit in my pocket? Is this bigger than the last phone I had? And how's it going to feel? So maybe there's a play there, or other categories, right?
Yeah.
That people can almost niche down, because dimensions.com, that is so broad. This case, you may actually want to niche down a little bit more.
I remember we were trying to find a piece of furniture for like a weird spot in our master bedroom, and we wanted it to be an armoire, but it had to be both narrow, but it couldn't be too wide, and we had to measure it, and then everything we were looking at, we're like, check the width and no, that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and so, that was a unique circumstance. Normally, we're not having to make decisions like that. But man, I would have killed for something like this if I could have gone and found a list of different products or different things that fit my dimensions. So I can see there being a lot of niche plays if you kind of drill down a bit, right? And then think about what you could also sell, if you're going more the DIY route, maybe plans or construction things. If you're going more the design route, maybe design software, design services. There's a lot of interesting angles there.
Yep. I think when it comes down to it, people need to think about what's the problem that you're trying to solve. Jared laid out a perfect example, people having problems of fitting furniture in particular spaces. But what's a problem you can solve with your niche site? And maybe that'll help you create a new site that you hadn't thought of before. What's a little problem that you had in your own life, or that you see family members or friends having? And is there a niche site surrounding that specific problem that you can solve for them? So,
and if you can't think of a problem to solve, just go ahead and make crocodiledreams.org.
That's right. There's got to be certainly some search volume for that.
Undoubtedly.
One as well. That would be a creepy dream, though. So maybe we'll leave it at that. I think we covered it. We got the news. We got our shiny objects. We got our weird niche sites, all wrapped up here in This Week in Niche Pursuits News. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast once again. It's been a pleasure being here with you, Jared, of course. And for people that want to follow along and get more information, digital marketing news, they can go to nichepursuits.com/newsletter, where I share my ongoing tips, strategies, and ongoing news as well. So, Jared, thank you so much for recording, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
Today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
What a masterpiece PR link building campaign. With 20 links in big publications such as The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and still landing, I would say this campaign is a massive success. We told the press that people should turn on their heating this summer if they want to save money next winter. And we landed over 20 links in national and regional UK publications for our boiler client. That's crazy. The campaign hook was pretty clever. It is a known fact, at least in the boiler trade, that if you keep your boiler off for many months, it might rust and it might get you into trouble if you keep it turned off from spring to next winter. We therefore advise the press, with an expert commentary piece, on behalf of our boiler client, that people should turn on their boilers this summer just when the heat wave is in full swing. This way they can avoid a boiler failure next winter and save money. Massive publications picked up our story, including The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and a few more dozen publications, giving our client links, lots of links, and lots of happiness hormones. No wonder that so many journalists covered our story, as this headline is a massive link magnet to their audience. This case study highlights the fact that a clever hook can be applied to any insight or story to make a campaign more successful and more compelling to journalists. Can you imagine when people see this headline in the news, "You should turn on your boiler this summer"? There's no way they would not click on it. I would click on it. So this was the hook, and this is why this campaign was so successful. I hope this video inspires and shows you what's possible with a clever hook.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.